As human beings, we like to look at our situations with pros and cons, or the good and bad of things. We see the positive and the negative. We see the ups and the downs. The theory I will be presenting today is the social exchange theory. And little do we know, this theory affects our lives and is the reason why our actions take place today. Having researched on this theory, I have obtained multiple sources to explain what the theory means and how we have incorporated and how we will incorporate this into our daily lives. Learning about the social exchange theory will help us understand the actions within our relationships with people. First, I will explain what the theory is and who the theorist is. Then I will talk about how this theory is incorporated into the world around us. So first, what is the social exchange theory? In order to understand the social exchange theory, we must first look at who the theorist is and the development of the theory. In the Handbook of Social Psychology, written by Karen S. Cook and other authors, published in 2013, the authors introduced the origin of the social exchange theory. George Homans, an American sociologist from the 20th century, introduces the social exchange theory. He was a sociologist that focused on interpersonal exchanges, which meant the interaction between individuals. He explained the social exchange theory as the exchange of activity that was more or less rewarding or costly between two parties. Homans believed that the way humans interacted with each other was on the basis of a benefit and cost system. According to Homans, the cost consisted of alternatives. Now, for example, Victoria and Stephen are in a personal relationship. It could be a friendship or a romantic relationship. Victoria is looking at the benefits of this relationship that she and Stephen has. First, she will determine her benefits and her costs. If her benefits outweigh the costs, then she will remain in the relationship. If the costs outweigh her benefits, she will leave the relationship. This is a representation of the social exchange theory. We build relationships and maintain relationships based on a benefit to cost system. Now that we have discussed what the theory is, we will now talk about how we can apply the theory. Because we have a grasp of what the theory means, we can use this theory in real-world situations. On April 28, 2014, an article posted on the LA Times by Carol J. Williams says that Americans are supporting tougher sanctions on Russia for its aggressiveness in Ukraine. Now, if you guys don't know, the U.S. and Russia are on frictional terms, and this is because in early February of 2014, the Ukrainian parliament impeached their president. However, Russia assumes that the United States and the EU, the European Union, funded and directed the revolution within the Ukraine. And this situation escalates, and Russian forces begin moving into Crimea. And now Crimea is declared as a territory temporarily occupied by Russia. Now, according to the statistics, 62% of the polls said they were opposed to providing any sort of military aid to the Ukraine, compared to the 30% who wanted to provide military aid. Now, this article shows an importance of the social exchange theory. The social exchange theory can not only be used in individual social communication, but it can also be used in a political sense. Now, the polls show a strong opposition to military aid, and this could be because of the U.S. deployment of troops in the recent Afghanistan and Iraq war. Any military aid would remind American citizens of the cost of the war and the development of the relationships with other countries. Now, what are other theorists doing with this line of research? Now, based on the social exchange theory, a human being would produce different ways of interacting with their ideal partners. In 2006, an article written by Susan M. Wildermuth and other authors in the Communication Studies Scholarly Journal, they say that when rewards for a particular initiation behavior are perceived to outweigh the costs necessary to complete the endeavor the behavior is engaged in. Now, when we interact or initiate in a romantic relationship, the way that seems more beneficial would be taken. However, the idea of success in relationships is subjective. Different human beings have different views on how a relationship should be like. Now, one's critique of self-esteem is also important. The higher the self-esteem, the more likely you are to engage in initiation strategies that stray away from the traditional way. And we can see that the theory can still be evaluated today. This theory can determine how we interact with each other on a relational basis. Now that we know what the social exchange theory is and how it affects us, let's wrap things up. It is important to discuss the social exchange theory to better understand our relationships with others. First, I discussed what the theory is and who the original theorist is. Then I talked about how we can apply this theory in real world situations. So the next time we break ties with someone, maybe we will think, it's not so bad. It's not worth it to lose them.